All right, hey everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Football Talk. Today the analyst is driving back from Seattle, so we won't be having him. But we do have his picks. So anything, um, I guess before we get started, anything from you, Ripper, you want to talk about?
I don't know why you lie to everybody and tell him the analyst is driving from Seattle. I think he's coming from Vegas, putting his bets in.
True,
Good
yeah,
old
he put all his
Calvin.
bets in. He's got to get his bets in before tomorrow.
He's got to put his 1 million one odds on what team's it? Seattle winning the Super Bowl.
A billion to one.
Sheagles. No man, I mean there's not really any big time reports, is there?
The one I heard is the Dalvin Cook Jets. But that's not official yet, as far as at least as I know. Guys, you guys should be hearing me now, right? Everybody.
I mean
Chat's
he's
saying they can't hear anything.
practicing. You would think. You would think he's going there. He's already practicing with him.
So,
It's a little odd.
so one of the things I saw, there's two things. Is one, I sent a bunch of videos. The guy who's doing those is brilliant. Um, but one of the things is the de-evaluation of the running back. And there's a lot of people that are talking about how to fix it. And I think it's funny to me that we don't have this same conversation with things like the de-evaluation of the guard position. Like there's a lot of positions in football, and frankly, the way the game is played today, your number one is the quarterback and someone who can get to the quarterback, and then probably defensive backfield who can stop your wide receivers and wide receivers. Those are kind of the pay bands. Running back's just not in that equation. Do you think there's any way they get back in the equation? Is this something that they just talk about and they're sad because it's not that way anymore and they're not getting the big money they were getting in the 80s? Or, do you think this is something that the players need to look at and change?
The only way to fix it is to have a running back go have a stellar season, 2,000 plus yards, and put a team on his back and drag him all the way to the Super Bowl. That's the only way it happens. You have to have a showcase running back that comes out and says, "I can do it. I'm an every down back. I'm going to give you 2,000 yards. I'm going to give you those 20 some touchdowns. I'm going to lead us to the Super Bowl." That's the only way you fix it. That's the only way. So that teams start realizing, like, wow, look, they just did it with Derrick Henry or whoever you want to say, right? He just tore it up, led him to a Super Bowl, but that hasn't happened, right? It hasn't happened in a few years. You've had Henry tear it up, but what does he give him? Nothing.
Yeah, would it be something, a situation like that where it has to be Henry and a quarterback that's like meh? Because if it's Henry tearing it up and it's Patrick Mahomes, do you go, well, but he had
Yeah,
because you know how Mahomes, okay, well, yes, you're good and you got a lot of points, but so did Mahomes. So this will be have
correct.
to be it has to be one of those quarterbacks that's also incompetent.
You have to have it with a second tier quarterback. Yes, there's a combination of that, right? You can't do it with the Mahomes. You can't do it with even an Allen, right? Because people are going to say, well, he draws away a lot from the defense, so the running back has lanes. It definitely has to be done with a tier two quarterback. Maybe with maybe with a Cousins, maybe with a Dak. Maybe not though, because those I don't think Dak's a tier one quarterback. You know that, and I don't think Cousins is either. But they're showcased on their teams. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So it makes it tough for that kind of quarterback. We're talking more like the kid from Chicago.
Fields.
Yeah. Wait. If Fields leads him to 2,000 yards and 28 touchdowns on the ground, he might change it for running backs too. But you know what I mean, though, right? You got to do it with a tier two quarterback. Maybe Christian McCaffrey in San Francisco with Purdy. If
Mm.
McCaffrey puts it on his back and does it all, I think you can change it. But that's what it's going to take: tier two quarterback plus a running back that goes 2,000 plus yards and double digit
And
touchdowns.
the reason for
And
that is because you see that they're putting a prototype out there, because we know today that a good quarterback and no other pieces really are, I mean, you have to have a team, so it can't be no other pieces, but a good quarterback and I mean, Mahomes last year, right? Name someone other than Kelsey that you go is a real superstar, on that team, and remove Mahomes and put in a tier two quarterback. What's the record? we all would say much lower than what they did. Definitely not a
They don't
Super
win a
Bowl.
Super Bowl.
Yeah, they don't win a Super Bowl. So same thing is you have to be able to insert him into a team that has a middling quarterback and they have won the championship. It can't be one of those, I think even a situation where you have a great running back, a mediocre quarterback, and a superstar defense are going to be like, well, you had the 85 Bears part two, right? So I don't see it working either. That's the other thing. I don't see a running back being able to take over a game like that. And maybe one will exist and come out of the. You'll get Barry Sanders 3.0, that comes out and he can make everyone miss 22 times in one single play, but I just don't see that being something that can happen in the future. So I think the days of them getting money are kind of done.
Uh, Maybe I told you last week that I think the league has changed, right? I think that it's a wide receivers league. It's a pass game now. It's all aerial. That's why they're not putting a lot of emphasis on the running backs, and you have the running back committee and so on and so forth. You're looking at more running backs that can catch and run, right? Uh, you know, I think that the NFL goes in waves, right? It's not well trends, right? So, and you see it here and there. We've seen it become uh, balanced, and you've seen it become more running back heavy, and now we're seeing it become more wide receiver heavy per se, right?
Yeah.
So when it gets back to that running back heavy, and it will, maybe it's 2, 3 years down the road, maybe it's more, but it will get there, and then it'll flip again. It'll be the heavier running back pay and the heavier linebacker pay and the DT pay and the
Yeah.
DM pay to offset the running game, right? So
It's all about winning, right? It's like if someone comes in and they've got a sledgehammer running back and they run the I formation and they win, then that's going to be the new thing. Like, last year had the Eagles won, then everybody be investing in a running quarterback and a bulldozing line, and follow the Eagles blueprint of, 3 yards in a cloud of dust. So yeah, it's definitely whoever wins.
yep,
Okay,
I think we'll see it though.
I don't disagree. Okay, so I think the first pair we're going to talk about, or the first team we're going to talk about, is going to be the Kansas City Chiefs. So let me get them ready to go. All right, so Kansas City Chiefs, they've got Jawan Taylor from the Jags, offensive tackle. They got an edge rusher, Charles Omenihu, a defensive line warden, linebacker Mike Edwards and safety. These are all the signings. Brian Cowart, Blake Bell, another tight end, Derek Nottie, guard Nick Allegretti, and a safety Devin Bush. They lost Mr. 97-yard Chad Henne, quarterback. Ron Jones, who went to the Cowboys, fullback, no one cares about. McCole Hardman and Juju Smith both left. They lost Orlando Brown to the Bengals. They lost Andrew Wiley to the Commanders. Their edge rushers, Frank Clark and Dunlap. Couple defensive linemen and a safety in Juan Thornhill. Their draft picks were a defensive end, Felix and Anudike Uzama. Wide receiver Rashid Rice. Tackle Morris in the third round. Fourth round was safety Connor. Fifth round was B.J. Thompson. Sixth round was a defensive tackle Colburn. And the seventh round was a cornerback Nick Jones. Their defensive line or offensive line is supposed to be ranked 7th. Their defense was 13th overall. And their starting depth chart is going to be Patrick Mahomes at quarterback, Isaiah Pachinko at running back, backed by McKinnon and Clyde Edwards-Helaire. They've got Tony at wide receiver, MVS from the Packers there at wide receiver, Sky Moore at wide receiver, Travis Kelce, who also should be a wide receiver, at tight end. And that is your starting lineup for the Kansas City Chiefs, your world champions.
Yeah. Well, let's start with this. I've got them at 15-2. Maybe that's crazy. Maybe it's not. Like I told you offline, 6 of those wins come within their own division. I don't see the Chargers, Raiders, or Broncos beating the Chiefs, whether it be in division or not. The last year, Patrick Mahomes was the star of the Chiefs. Obviously, it looked like the Chiefs were playing with their food. We said that many a times, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, hey, I'll spot you 20 points. Don't worry about it. And Mahomes comes down and beats you the last second pass, right? I mean, the star is still there. The big name of Patrick Mahomes still there. I don't see his play going downhill just yet. He's not at the I need a bump from an 8 ball stages of Aaron Rodgers just yet. He's still got maybe, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 good years to him. Standout years, I would think.
Yeah.
So let's start with that. Mahomes. Then you got to look at the running backs. For me, I'm going to go running backs first. Isaac Pacheco was coming along towards the end of the season. I think he's going to be a standout for him. I know he's a little banged up right now, but nothing serious. I think this year he comes out big. And if you add a really good running game to the Chiefs, tied in with Patrick Mahomes and the passing game they have, yeah, that's dangerous. Really dangerous. I do think Pacheco and McKinnon will step it up. They still have Hilaire, who
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think he gets cut, honestly. Uh, Wide receivers, they have Tony, which not bad. I know that I was reading an article yesterday, actually. Ross, I think he's listed as third in the depth chart. He's having a standout training camp, so we'll see. They still have Valdez Scantling, don't do they?
Yes. I mean,
Yeah.
but
I'm just
yeah.
asking if Aaron Rodgers hasn't, reclaimed him
Oh
yet.
yeah, that's not. Well, and I don't know that Aaron Rodgers is going to want to, right? So he's in the Marquise Brown 50-50 mindset of
Correct.
fastest man on the planet, catches half the balls.
He is a 50-50, 100% 50-50. But then you got Sky Moore, who's also coming along there. They've got some really good young receivers, and that'll really, I think, be showcased this year. You still have the other big star, Kelsey, right? Like,
Yeah.
you can't ignore that. He's a beast, and he's going to be a beast for another 5 years, too. So this team is set for a few years if they can keep everybody under contract, so on and so forth, right? Um, they look great offense. Again, I said it last week. I think the NFL has changed. It's in not necessarily about defense stopping everybody, but more so our offense will just outscore everybody. And I think that's the Kansas City Chiefs 100%, bro. You saw last year how many points they were giving up in games and still beat you because they outscored you. They weren't really worried too much about defense and more so killing you with the offense, and they did. However, their defense doesn't look too bad this year. I don't think. I mean, I don't know that they upgraded anything via free agency or draft per se, but yet to be seen, right? And again, the other star in this one, and another big boy just like me, Andy Reid. I mean, dude, he's a coach, bro, and he's a very good coach. And yeah, it's easy to look good when you got all the weapons, but you got to understand what he does with those weapons and how he develops those weapons. Because he's throughout his career, he's always developed helped develop a good team, a good quarterback, so on and so forth. So I just don't see the Chiefs scoring anything under 15-2. I see them easily winning this division and back in the AFC Championship game. I'm not saying Super Bowl just yet, but definitely AFC Championship game.
Yeah, across the board, we had the Chiefs winning and being in first place. Me and Stryker were 11-6 in both. I'll tell you mine. Mine is the defense. The defense is mediocre. It's aging, so it's not getting any better. Um, Kelsey isn't getting any younger. Um, Mahomes, Mahomes is the difference, right? And he's young. I don't think anything's going to happen to him. And I still think the road the games they're playing in first place schedule. They're playing a Super Bowl defending Super Bowl champion schedule. Everybody's going to mark their calendar with the Chiefs when they come to town. I think that difficulty, and I think the moves that the other teams have made in the division are going to make it where they stumble a few more times. I had them again 11-6. I can easily see that. Again, I think he's a superstar. I can easily see that being the absolute floor, and they do better. And again, I'm trying to be realistic. I don't think their defense is any better. I don't think their team got any better, but they're also defending Super Bowl champs. But it's hard. They've been in the last 5 championship games, 5 of the last 6. I mean, it's hard to stay at that level every single year. Mahomes makes it look easy, but I think they're going to have just a little tougher time. And quite frankly, the team doesn't look better. The thing that might be the difference is the wide receiver core. Sky Moore having another year and being a legit, becoming a star will make a world of difference in my opinion. If the other two wide receivers are having good years and they actually become, again, you got Patrick Mahomes throwing to you, so he can make a good receiver look great, and a great receiver go to the next level. So again, still think they're going to be first place. Think they're going to have a little more difficulty. I don't love having Jawan Taylor. He was a whole machine in Jax, and he was still a poorly rated pass blocker. I think they downgraded the line, and that was the one year they didn't win. It was their line failed them at the very end of the playoff run. Right, they lost all their tackles. So I think they took a little step back there, but overall, still think they'll get first place.
Well, you pretty much went over the same script as last year, right? Defense sucks, offense is there, offense outscores, they win.
Yeah.
And this year, though, you get Pacheco, second year, more experience. I think he's going to be great. You said McKinnon. The offense all upgrades by year. Kelsey, he's a little older, but man, he's still an animal.
Yeah.
I don't see him slowing down for another, at least, like I said, 3-4 years.
Yeah, the other thing that it's first place schedule, and again, look back at the Chiefs last year. Not in the regular season. I don't think they'll have, again. I think they're going to be first place in the regular season. In the playoffs, the question comes: those games you won by 7 points, are you a better team? Are the other teams better now? Do you still get those teams with this team? And I don't know that. I don't know. They're my favorite out of the AFC, just because the talent in the AFC is stacked, right? We were talking quarterbacks last week, and you start going through the quarterbacks in the NFC, and you go through the quarterbacks in the AFC. The talent's on the AFC side. So, again, really good team, really solid team. Think they'll win the division.
Well, I have them on 2 losses, and they're kind of bookend losses, not week 1, but I actually have them losing to your Jaguars and losing week 17 to the Bengals.
Yeah.
Believe it or not. That's the 2 losses. When I went down the schedule, all right, win, loss. Honestly, it was a long time before I saw another loss, but when I got to week 17, that was the other one. But those are the 2 losses. I have them to the Jags and the Bengals.
All right, before we move on, Daniel has given me the round boo of, I'm not sure if he likes the Chiefs or don't like the Chiefs, but I got a boo from the chat, and Harley says that we all know KC is a comeback team, and she wants me to read her comments. So let's slide over to the Chargers.
The brand new big contract Chargers quarterback?
Yeah, the Herberts. Okay, so they signed a tackle and Pippins, linebacker and Kendricks, a backup quarterback, a defensive tackle, Fox, or defensive lineman, Fox, a punter, Scott, cornerback and Hall, tight end, Parham. They've got center guard Will Clapp, a kicker and Dicker. They re-signed him, and a tackle and they re-signed. Their losses: they lost Chase Daniel, they lost DeAndre Carter to the Redskins, or the Raiders. I'm sorry. A tight end Rogers they lost. They lost Norton to the Saints. They lost a guard Fuller to the Bucks. Edge rusher Kyle Van Noy. They lost Compton to the Lions, a defensive lineman. They lost Tyson Davidson, a defensive lineman. Troy Reader and Tranquil, linebackers. They lost a cornerback in Callahan and a safety, Adderley, who retired. All that to say, they really didn't gain or lose anything. In round 1, they got Quentin Johnson, wide receiver. They picked up a linebacker in 2 and 3, and Tapatalutu and Henley. They got a wide receiver, Davis, in the 4th round, and a linebacker, B.J. Thompson, in the 4th round. The prediction has them the 12th best offensive line, the 25th best offense, although they did spend a lot of capital on improving the linebacker core. Their starting lineup at offense is going to be Justin Herbert, Austin Eckler, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Quentin Johnson in the slot, Gerald Everett at tight end. And that is your Los Angeles Chargers.
Well, let's start off
I'm
with what
sorry,
I
Las
have.
Vegas. Las Vegas Chargers.
No, Los Angeles.
Oh, that's
Las
right.
Vegas
Not
Raiders.
yeah. Sorry, no, meant to say
Bruce
no longer
Bennett
San
the
Diego.
Cardinals.
That's what I meant to say.
Yeah. So the Chargers I got at 10-7. And honestly, this could be either way. I have them in second place in this division. This could really flip flop with the Raiders, to be honest. Justin Herbert, look, he's on the ball. He's on the spotlight now, right? They paid him a big amount of money. I'm not saying not deserved. I'm just saying what has he done for it, right? So I think everything has kind of not necessarily changed. I mentioned the NBA last week, saying that now
Well,
NBA.
what has he done? He has blown the second largest playoff lead ever. That's what he has done. List
So
of
you're
accomplishments.
saying he's the cousin of Dak Prescott and Cousins?
Oh, I think he's a much. Yeah, exactly. He's a touchdown. He's a Kirk Cousins, Dak Prescott if they scored more touchdowns. So yes.
Well, the problem is this. So in the NBA now they're paying for potential. They're not paying for what you've done yet. Like Bay with the Spurs and all that. They're just paying for what he can be, not necessarily what he is. And I guess you kind of pay for that for any rookie in the NFL as well. However, Herbert's not a rookie, right? What he the
And you really don't anymore in the NFL. Like it used to be that way back in the 80s and 90s, and they would hold out and get more money. But now that rookie pay scale, when you get drafted in a spot, you're kind of framed into a spot, and let's face it, it's a cap friendly spot. Like he went from a couple million a year to, oh my God, what, 40, 50 a million a year?
Yeah, well, the shit part is now what, right? So if he comes out in the next 2 years, he just trash. You paid all that money for trash, right? And that you know it's probably not going to happen with Justin Herbert. You know he's a good quarterback, but is he a tier 1 quarterback? Not yet, not in my eyes. Tier 1 is for guys like Mahomes, and really it's hard to really put any other quarterback in that tier 1 like Mahomes because Mahomes is a game changer, bro. I mean,
Would you not put Burrow?
I think he's there. I think he's yes and no, man. You know why? Because Super Bowls, bro. I hate to say it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Not the
it's Super
wins.
Bowls.
Yeah.
It's just not there yet, right? Like, how do you put anybody up there with Patty Mahomes when he's got how many appearances and how many wins now? Like, it's tough, bro. It's tough to put anybody else in the tier 1. But let's say if Pat Mahomes is the top of the top of the tier, right under you've got Burrows and Allen and stuff like that. Does Herbert hit that tier 2 then?
No.
No. I think he's tier 3 with Dak and Cousins and others. I think they have to pay him that much because the potential, right? Like, yes, he doesn't have the wins yet, but he has the potentials to be great. And if you don't pay him, he goes elsewhere.
So I think he's separate from Dak and Cousins because Dak and Cousins have been in longer. Like you've seen a longer body of work for those guys, and you kind of know floor here, ceiling here. The floor is not bad, but the ceiling's not there. Herbert's what, on his third? This is his fourth year.
Mhm.
I don't think you've seen the best of him yet. However, it's you flip that with Mahomes. He had a Super Bowl second year, right? So you go, oh, maybe you don't need that long. So I don't know. He's on. Again, I would put him slightly ahead of them. So in my book, it's like these are tier 1 quarterbacks and broken into 3 sub tiers. I think if you offered, it's one of those things. If you offered your quarterback to another team, do they take you? Well, if you offered Herbert to the Chiefs, they would go no. But if you offered him to the Raiders, they would go yes. If you offered him to, a bunch of other teams, they would say yes. And really the list is like Burrow, they're not going to say yes. Allen, they're not going to say yes. Maybe the Jets, because they're delusional, wouldn't say yes. You know what I mean?
Well, if you put Herbert at, let's say Mahomes is the 10, 1 to 10.
Yeah.
Mahomes is the 10, and Fields is a 1. Let's use that scale. Where do you put Burrows and Allen? 9s or 8s? And where do you put Herbert?
Yeah.
And Dak and Cousins,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So if Mahomes is the top and all by himself at 10, because really there's no one else, I would definitely say that I don't see anybody even, man, maybe a 9. I think you could put Burrows and Allen at that 9.
Yeah.
I think you could put Hurts. I'm not convinced on Hurts yet. I think they just had a really good scheme and a really good
Yeah, I think
little.
he's an 8. I
Yeah,
think if you, and we've said that before. I think if you put him in the pocket and you make him beat you, he's an 8.
Herbert.
No,
I think he's
that was
that
for Hurts.
7, maybe an 8
Yeah.
soon. Dak and Prescott and them again. They haven't really done anything. They're managing their games. They're doing all right, but they're throwing picks, and you put them in that maybe that 6 tier, that 6 number, right?
Yeah.
I do think Herbert's slightly better than them. I do think that the money, I mean, you have to pay the money regardless, or he goes elsewhere. You're paying for that potential that he can become something. Will he ever be a Patrick Mahomes? I don't think so. I think Mahomes is going to be I guess you would say a generational talent.
Hmm.
I think he's just special, and I think he's going to be, like a Jesus, sounds fiscal for Joe Montana,
Jesus,
bro.
like Jesus. Yes, I agree. Little like Jesus, walks on water, performs small miracles. Yes, correct.
Sometimes, right? He's going to be that kind of talent, that Joe Montana talent stuff.
Yeah.
Um,
Tom
but
Brady, Montana. Yeah, you name the franchise quarterback. Yes.
well, the other thing is that Mahomes could do it, with some talent around
So
him.
I've got a
Herbert
question. I've
can't.
got a question for you. Throw Jerry Jones out the picture. Your
Please
third
do.
company. You just sold it for $10 billion, and you bought the Cowboys off Jerry because he had a heart attack. And this all happens in the next, I don't know, 30 days. When you have ownership of the Cowboys and the Los Angeles Chargers, you reach them on the phone and they say they're willing to trade uh, him to you. Do you for Dak straight up? Do you take him?
Yes, I think I do. I do believe Herbert's a better quarterback than Dak.
Gotcha.
I do.
Just had to
I,
ask.
look, man, we've got. I don't even want to get into that because you can go back to the Tony Romo and the Dak Prescott. We've been heartbroken since Troy Aikman, right? We haven't had a good quarterback since Troy Aikman. Period. That's the truth. Who, if you could, I mean, you're gonna say Quincy Carter? You're gonna bring
I
one of
am
those
not
guys?
going to disagree with you at all. And
Funny.
Aikman, we've talked about this. Aikman was a number 1 overall pick. That was when you bottomed out. You got Aikman. When have you bottomed out since then? Tweet, 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 tweet. So when you finish 6-10, 8-8, 8-8 is your worst season. You ain't getting the top of the draft board, right?
Well, not just that, but Jerry's not going to spend the money or trade or anything to go up in the draft either. Look, Jerry is this guy. Oh yeah, everybody's number 1 pick for quarter. No, 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 we don't need that. Jimmy Johnson's an idiot. I can find him on a budget. I'm gonna find the next Tom Brady. I promise you. I'm a wildcat. I can do this. That's his thoughts, man. Every year he thinks he's gonna budget fine. Do they find some good players? Sure, but most of them are not in the late rounds, and that's the truth.
Gotcha. They said the chat says he only chokes when it's important. On Herbert. I think if and me personally, if you replace Herbert with Dak, I think you guys would be the team to beat in the NFC.
Okay, well then look at the Chargers though, and look at their roster and their depth chart. What do you have? You've got Herbert, a good quarterback. Okay, their O line is what? They're
Decent.
okay.
They're top half, top third.
Right, running backs. Eckler ain't bad. Some issues there, but he's if you're looking to compare to the Cowboys, he could be a Pollard or even a Zeke, right? Not same concept, same level of talent, in my opinion.
Yep.
Wide receivers, Keenan Allen's aging, but still a good veteran receiver. You have Mike Williams, who to me is a little one that maybe like a 60-40 guy instead of a 50-50 guy, right?
Yeah.
Uh, Johnson's a great draft pick. I think he's going to be special for them. I really do think he does really well for them. Tight end, Gerald Everett he's your standard good tight end. He's not
Yeah,
a
he ain't
Kelsey,
Kelsey, but yeah, exactly.
but he's going to get the job done. He's going to score some touchdowns. And you go from there. They're me. They're They're the Cowboys on the West Coast, bro. It's not any different. You know,
I think their defense is far inferior to yours.
oh yes, I didn't even. We're talking offense right
Yeah,
now.
yeah,
I agree. The Dallas Cowboys defense is the reason they're going to win games this season.
correct.
Because I already told you the Pollard issue and all that. Everybody, dude, look at Deuce Vaughn. Deuce Vaughn is brothers to the little people commander over there in Arizona, bro. Look at how small he is.
Yes, the Lilliputian leader known as the quarterback for Arizona.
You need to look at a video of Deuce Vaughn in training camp. Holy smokes, bro. He is little. And it ain't gonna help him. You wait and see. Come on, bro. Listen. I know he played college ball and all that good stuff, but once you get hit by a 5-star linebacker coming downfield on you, oof.
I
Anyway,
mean, and that's why they don't last. Maurice Jones-Drew was a great running back. His legs were the size of tree trunks. He only made it 7 years. You can't take that pounding. Derrick Henry can take that pounding. Little midgets cannot.
Sorry. I had a
Little
bad
peoples.
joke there.
Little
I'm not
peoples.
gonna use the joke. Uh, but anyways, 10-7 for the Chargers. I believe Herbert is a good quarterback. He's in that, like we talked about, that maybe 6-7 tier right now. I don't think that he get. You got to win. You got to win. Someone said it in the chat there, right? He loses when they're important games. Well, that's the difference between a top tier quarterback and a mid tier quarterback is winning the big games. So until he can do that, he's still a mid tier quarterback. And I don't see the only reason I see the Chargers going 10-7 here is because 4 of their wins are against the Raiders and the Broncos, right? So, and maybe not even. I think they might split with the Raiders. We'll see. 10-7 may have been too generous for them, to be quite honest. But I'm going to go with 10-7. I think they have an okay season. I think Herbert has to live up to that contract money, and he'll come out. But again, if he wants to make that next year, he has to win the important games. He's got to win the playoff games.
Yep. Agreed. And this is the time because the cap is only going to make this more and more of an inferior team. He needs to be starting a precedent now of winning and winning meaningful games. If he can't do it now, he's not suddenly his level of getting better is not going to increase enough to outstrip the talent that's not there on the team because of his cap hit. You have him at 10-7. Strikers has a 7-7. I'm gonna guess because he copied off your pick as he was driving back. That's my answer. That's he probably copied off mine for the first one, yours for the second one. That seems to be a pattern. So that's what his explanation is. Since he's not here to defend himself.
He did his picks first.
Oh darn.
So maybe I copied off of him.
For I have the Chargers at 7-10, and it's solely on the schedule and the fact that I'm not sold on anything in the Chargers. Like I look at the for let's throw out the fantasy relevance. Who do you have for fantasy relevance? Eckler is one of those strange running backs, right? He gets points and he's a fantasy relevant, but would you want him as a running back? And the answer everybody's going to say is no, because his versatility is weird, right? Like he's not like there's things you can't use Eckler for. Like if you're on the goal line, Eckler ain't pounding it in there, right? But he is he's again a very versatile back. He catches the ball. He's a better wide receiver than a running back. So he gets his points. He has fantasy relevance. I don't think it translates into, wow, that's a scary running back. Keenan Allen's always hurt, along with Mike Williams, who's always hurt. But together, they're really fantasy impacts, right? You would draft them, and then you go, God, someone give me a horseshoe so they don't get hurt. And that's it.
Well, the only one, honestly, yes, I agree. You're not drafting Herbert high on the quarterback scale. When the quarterbacks start falling, oh, I'm not looking for Herbert, right? You're looking
Correct.
for Patty, you're looking for Allen and Burrows. But the dark horse for me, fantasy relevance here, and I just through my own research and my own, you know me, man, how I prepare fantasy football. I think Quentin Johnston's going to have a little season. I think you said it yourself. Eckler and Williams are always hurt. They're going to play half the games. Quentin Johnston's going to be the go-to guy for Herbert. That's where he's going to make his contract worth it. Yep. And that's the only one, and that's not saying much because he's a rookie. So
I'm from that Bill Parcells school of I don't believe rookies do much. So, I mean, there have been a few. Justin Jefferson came to mind. Randy Moss comes to mind. But as a general whole, you're talking 600-700 yards for a rookie wide receiver is kind of the top end. A handful of touchdowns, which again, if you told me that Eckler, Allen, and Williams started all 17 games and were their normal single game healthy fantasy relevance, I would flip that record in a heartbeat. But it hasn't happened in a single year in 5 years? So I can't go, well, it's gonna happen this year. Like that's just too magical, right? But that's why. And then I looked at their schedule and said, wow. And then again, for some odd reason, I think this division is going to be tough, and I think people are going to beat each other up in the division, which we'll talk about when I get to the other teams. So
I look at situational football, man. So again, Allen. Let me just say about Allen real fast before I get to situational football. Allen is Mr. Heartbreak for me. So when I draft him,
he gets hurt.
He gives me he gives you the problem is exactly. He gives you that one good week and then he gets hurt. Then he's back and it's like, let me see how healthy he's gonna be. And you don't play him, then he tears it up. And then the next week, like, I gotta play him, and he gets hurt first quarter. Like, oh. So yeah, I don't mess with Allen anymore. Last year was my last year getting this guy.
But he's had a history of that for what now? 5 years?
Correct. And still, like, I'm a Cowboys fan, so I'm a glutton for punishment.
Yeah. Uncle Rico, roll the dice one more time, baby.
Yeah. So, well, we are related.
So I cannot wait until the fantasy draft and I see him up and available and like obviously the best pick and Ripper's like, nah.
Not again. So situational football to me is Quentin Johnson, right? So Allen and Williams are always hurt. What's left? He is a good talent. So putting him in a situation where he has to be the go-to guy, I think he has a good season. I really do. I really think I'm not drafting him first 10 rounds. Don't get me wrong. If he's there after the 10th round, I might pick him up.
He's a sleeper.
Now he won't be there because you and Striker know about it.
Well, no, because he's a sleeper pick, right? So he's late in the late rounds. He'll be there, and the reason you pick him up is you're not counting on him to give you anything the first half of the season. By then, he shows his true colors. Your best case scenario, he's hitting it off in somewhere in the first half of the season, and you're like, wow, this guy's really good. You pull him off your bench, you put him in, and he's getting you 100 yards and a touchdown. Like, that's like the best case, right, for the last half of the season.
Yep.
So, no, I completely do that. And it's picking that guy, because, again, for every one of the guys like this, you get a guy who doesn't do anything and gets 400 yards.
Correct. 30 points for the whole season.
You're correct. So I got him at 7-10. I actually have them in last place. So
wow. I have them in second, although it could flip with them and the Raiders, and you'll see why not. Or when we go to the Raiders.
All right. Let me set that up. Go ahead and cover anything you want to. Give me a second here.
Well, I have this mole.
No mole conversation.
Not that.
Chad has said the Raiders are going 0-17.
Let's see. What did Chad say? Raiders what?
0-17.
0-17. Well,
Is Justin Fields quarterback for them?
Harley. You must be I don't know.
Cardinal fan.
Is she a Cardinal fan?
Yeah.
Why does she hate the Raiders?
I don't know.
Tell me where the Raiders touched you.
Multiple.
Is that right?
Multiple places inappropriately.
I don't understand your hate for the Raiders. Don't they got the 49ers quarterback? Is that why you hate them? Okay,
then. All right.
Anybody else with a prediction in this division? Other than 0-17? Because, that's going to get the SFP monitor. If you don't know what SFP is, read your Discord a little bit.
Oh, God. They have raised points for a community challenge. Love you guys. They're talking crap because I ignored them.
Oh.
So, okay. So, next up, Are going. We'll do the Raiders. So you've got the Raiders at 8 and 9. I've got them at 9 and 8. Striker, who's again AFK, is 7 and 10. Obviously, a Ouija board said that. So the Raiders got a quarterback, Garoppolo, Mr. Awesome. Wide receiver Myers. They signed safety Epps. Couple middling pick at linebacker, Spillane, cornerback Fasan, running back Abdullah, tackle OJ Howard, or I'm not sorry, tight end OJ Howard. Keenan Cole from the Jets, Austin Hooper, tight end. No one else of really note that I see. They lost their other quarterback, Derek Carr, and Stidman. They lost wide receiver. Darren Waller. They lost their edge rusher, Farrell. Defensive lineman Billings. All their linemen, looks like all their defensive linemen. Pecco Rochelle. Linebacker Brown. Linebacker Perriman, cornerback Avet, cornerback Jones, quarterback Yasin, and safety Harmon. They picked up a defensive end, Wilson, in the first round, a tight end, Michael Mayer in the second round. Third round, they got Trey Tucker. Fourth round, a cornerback, Bennett. Fourth round, quarterback O'Connell. Fifth round, a safety Smith. Sixth round, Bernie. Seventh round, defensive tackle Jade Silva. Their offensive line is projected to be 18th. Their defense 30th in the We're Awesome category. Your depth chart is going to be Jimmy Garoppolo at quarterback, Josh Jacobs at running back, Devontae Adams at wide receiver, Jacoby Myers at wide receiver 2, Hunter Renfrow at wide receiver number 3, Austin Hooper at tight end, and that is your Las Vegas Betting Raiders.
Nice, nice. I have him 8-9. Let's start off with Garoppolo, though. This is his, I wouldn't say last opportunity, but yeah, his last opportunity to show that he could be the man, right? I mean, they cut him from New York. Not even cut him from New England. They traded him, right, to the 49ers. 49ers to the Raiders. This is his last shot, man. The Garoppolo hype won't last past the Raiders. Now, is it hype? I don't think so. I think he's a mid-tier quarterback. You know, is he a Dak Prescott level, Herbert level? No, maybe right under, and could be given the right opportunity and stay. Who knows what would happen? He got hurt last season, right?
Yes.
So who knows
And
what would
every
happen?
other season.
Correct. Well, there's that. So again, his last opportunity to show he could be the man by one, playing a good game, and two, especially two, staying healthy. He does not have bad weapons whatsoever. Although they don't know they'll have Josh Jacobs, right? He didn't come back yet, did he? He's still hiding out somewhere playing Pokemon.
Correct.
All right. So as far as the backup running backs, Samir White ain't bad. Abdullah is the one they drafted, correct? And they have no. I think Abdullah was there last year, wasn't he?
I'm looking. They didn't draft him this year. I think they drafted him last year.
I think he's a second year.
The analyst is in a car trip. Don't ask me these questions.
So the backup, I mean, compared to Jacobs, those backups might be all right at a committee. Again, we're not putting a lot of emphasis on the running backs anymore, so maybe they'll be fine. But wide receivers, they stand out to me. You got Devontae, right? Behind Devontae, you have DeAndre Carter, not bad. Philip Dorsett's a journeyman that ain't all great. Jacoby Myers, in my opinion, is still a great receiver, and I think he's going to be a big benefit there. He was also in New England. Hunter Renfrow is another 50-50. Speed for days, catches half his balls. Tight end, they downgraded, in my opinion, getting rid of what's his face?
Yes, Waller.
Waller, there you go. Yeah, that was a big downgrade. I don't understand that, but they must have their reasons. Austin Hooper's okay, but I thought Waller was a better athlete, way better athlete. So we'll see, right? He's got the weapons. However, it's still the Raiders, right? You just expect them to choke. Not necessarily a place where quarterbacks go to die per se, but
no, that's Cleveland.
Yeah, it's Cleveland, but they never like. This is the place where quarterbacks come to be mediocre, in my opinion. They're never really great here, man. They're just not. Carr played good here, but again, choke city, right? Never won the big one. Never could get them past important games. I don't know if Garoppolo's the answer here. I don't think they upgraded at quarterback. I think he's just as good as Carr. So I don't see much difference from last year's Raiders to this year's Raiders, to be honest. And I think the 8-9 record is pretty spot on, to be honest. I think they'll beat some teams that they should beat. Not all the teams they play are I know other people hype them up, like the Packers and stuff like that. I don't. I think they'll win some good games and end up at an 8-9. Probably just miss the playoffs.
Yeah, I've got them flipped. So, agree with most of what you said. So real quick, Bez, thanks for hopping in. This is the Sports Night Show. So hope you enjoy it. Put your favorite team in chat. We'll shout that out. And censored, welcome. Thanks for the beep. So here's the. This is he's to me. Garoppolo is the stake bit quarterback, right? All he has shown is he's like the Kirk Cousins inverse, where he wins. Like he's won. Like he got the Niners to a championship game, right? Now granted, the problem is that the Niners, and even last year when he came off the bench for Lance is the starter for some strange reason, and then Garoppolo's like because all I did was take you to the championship game, and then he gets hurt, and then Garoppolo comes in and has a after he shook the rust off for a couple of games, he had a really good year, and then he gets hurt, and then passed that gene along to Purdy, so he got hurt in the championship or in the playoffs. So, my point is he won a lot. When he plays, he has won. But he also played on the superstar teams, right? The 49ers are stacked. And the question is he a winner? If he is a winner, this is the chance for him to prove that he is. Like, I'm really the man. Like, I know all you guys think I'm just a pretty boy, but I am a legit quarterback. I am a winner, and he takes the Raiders and he does a good job. He's got a tough division to play in. Everyone will look at him as the third or fourth best quarterback in this division. So, if you're really truly the man, this is your opportunity. Obviously, I don't think so. Like I don't. I think he is Kirk Cousins, and then he played on a really good team. That he could, if Kirk Cousins was on that team, he would have the same sort of record. So, but again, his rap has always been he just wins games. And I think he is a good quarterback. I have a hard time rating him because again, part of a quarterback's job is to stay available, and he never is. So everyone
True.
everyone so that's what we have him as. So, and I also
There's,
think that the defense of the Raiders are going to let them down.
well, yeah. There's not much more to say about the Raiders. There's not a lot of positive change. They're going through losing a running back, which, again, he on a contract year last year he showed up and played ball, and this year they're like, yeah,
Well, they franchised him, right? Though, so I mean,
correct.
if he's do you sit out the year or do you just play with a chip on your shoulder? So it
He
might be
wants a
the
new
same guy.
contract. Well, the thing is with him is that he wants a better contract, right? He last year on the last year of his contract, he showed up and he expected a payday, and they want security is what they want. They want some upfront money, especially for running backs, bro. Their future is not guaranteed anymore. So they want that big contract with that, $50 million signing bonus or whatever it is, right? They want that upfront cash, and I don't think they're offering it to him, and
You,
that's where
you
he's
don't get
at
the
right now.
Mr. T starter kit without putting some cash up front. So
So it is what it is. The Raiders are going to be mediocre at best, in my opinion. Unless Garoppolo shows, hey, I could be the total package. I could be the man. This is his chance right here.
yep,
And if not, then it is what it is. The Raiders are 8-9, could be worse.
correct. All right, now let's go over to the Denver Broncos. So they signed a tackle McGlinchey. They
Oh
tied
yeah,
in.
that guy.
Yeah, they tied in a tight end, Manhurts, linebacker Singleton, defenseman Zach Allen, running back Sam G. Parney. Quarterbacks Stidham. Offensive lineman Powers, Ben Powers. Punter, we don't care about punters. Lyman Bailey. Linebacker Griffin. They got a fullback. No one cares about fullback. They got another punter. Lots of punters were signed. Cornerback in Tremon Smith. Running back Tony Jones. Kyle Fuller at center. And Marquise Callaway, a 1-year deal at wide receiver. Their losses, they lost running back Boone to the Texans. They lost Chase Edmonds to the Buccaneers. Marlon Mack, they just cut. Latavius Murray went to the Bills. Tight end Andrew Beck, the Texans. Tight end Eric Saubet to the Dolphins. Tight end Eric Tomlinson to the Texans. Their tackle Anderson to the Pats. Fleming got cut. Tackle Turner to the Jets. Guard Risner. Guard Glasgow. The defensive linemen Jones and Williams. Cornerback Ronald Darby. And linebacker Bobbin Moyer. They only had 5 picks, and they got Marvin Mims in the first round, wide receiver. Third round linebacker Drew Sanders. Third round quarterback Riley Moss. 6th round safety J.L. Skinner. And the 7th round center Alex Forsyth. Their starting lineup is Russell Wilson, Javonte Williams, Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton, Marvin Mims at 1, 2, and 3 wide receiver, tight end Greg Dulch, and that is your Denver Broncos.
This is my moment of silence for the Denver Broncos, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they still have Russell. That 5-12 is where I have them, and they still have Russell. Now they upgraded at coach, in my opinion, sure, but unfortunately for him, he inherited a very bad situation. Still, they still have Russell, unless he does something like totally different. It's like, hey, Ben DiNucci's our starting quarterback, who can't do any worse than what Russell did last year, in my opinion. And maybe we're wrong, man. Maybe Russell shows up this year and he's like, hey, remember me? Russell from Seattle? But
yeah, my luggage got lost. This is the real Russell.
Maybe. We'll see. Running back wise, they still have the running backs they have. They did bring in Javonte Williams. They brought him from Detroit, right?
I'm not the analyst. I don't know. I told you who they signed.
Javonte. Anyways, running game is okay. They got rid of. Jesus, I'm gonna forget all the names right now, so it doesn't matter. He wasn't very good, and he's gone.
Gordon.
Russell Wilson. Yeah, Melvin Gordon. Russell Wilson is all I can say. They got 2 great receivers in Jeudy and Sutton, but Russell Wilson. It's all going to come back to Russell Wilson. Their tight end ain't bad either, but can you say it, Wardy?
He's no
Russell Wilson.
Oh, yeah. I was going to say he's no Chiefs tight end.
Thing is, it's just never going to change, right? The fact is, they have Russell Wilson. The fact is, Wardy hit some harsh stuff over there.
Yeah, I did.
Russell Wilson. It just kills that team, man. You saw it. I said it last year. The defense of the Denver Broncos is going to go the whole Full Metal Jacket scene where they beat the guy with the bars of soaps and the pillowcases. That's going to happen to Russell in the locker room if he pulls the same stuff he pulled last year.
Correct. So, Javonte Williams was a second year player for the Broncos, so he was not the one you're thinking of.
No, you're right. It's not. But that was their rookie running back last year, who's not a bad running back, and we'll see what he does this year. Again, they've got good pieces. They're just missing the main piece. Again, unless Peyton goes in there again and says, "All right, Russell, man, it's been a good road. You've done really well. We love you. You're going to do great this season in the film room because you'll be teaching these young quarterbacks how to be better quarterbacks. It's just not going to be you." I just don't think Russell Wilson is there anymore. I think he should have retired. I think he needs to step out of the way, but Denver's never going to make him retire. They paid him too much. They gave away too much for him.
Well, they can't.
So
Then they can't get rid of him because of the contract they signed for him, right?
correct. Well, yeah, but they can bench him, and we'll see if they let. Peyton didn't come in there and say, "Yeah, let me come in there and come into a situation where I can't do anything." I mean, he's a good coach, and let's see what they do. I think if Russell Wilson somehow miraculously, shaved off 10 years, then hey, maybe he's gonna be great. But I doubt it. I still don't believe Russell Wilson will be great this year. I think you have better chances starting. I don't even know if Stidham, but maybe DiNucci. But the weapons are there on offense, but without the trigger puller, I guess, in Russell Wilson or whatever good quarterback you could put in there, you're going to be in trouble. And the Broncos are kind of up the creek with it for a while because of the contract they have for Russell Wilson. It's going to be a tough few years for him, but I don't see Peyton going to the Broncos and agreeing to just sit there in a boat. What do they call it? Shit Creek or whatever. It's not him, right? So he's going to go in there and he's going to make changes. They brought him in to change what was going on. They brought him in to win, and I think that he will make some changes. I think we'll see some dramatic changes this season in training camp. We'll see, but defensively, they're still good, man. They had a great defense last year. They would stop your team and you score 6 points, miss an extra point, but Russell can't even muster up a touchdown, right?
Correct.
So
It was a 6-2
crazy.
loss, and a third inning home run sealed the deal for them. Yes, exactly right. Um,
Crazy, but I have them at 5-12 for a reason. I think they'll be the bottom. Man, listen though, if they give Peyton his way and he comes in there, and thing is, I don't see Stidham or DiNucci being that, but I do see DiNucci being able to manage this team. Maybe even Stidham a little better than Wilson, and then winning some games. So we'll see if they can do that. And with the defense they have and a good managing quarterback, this team can easily win 7 games.
easily. So you've got him at 5-12. Stryker has him 6-11, but he also hates Russell Wilson, for whatever reason. 8-9 is what I have him as, and this is why. Sean Payton is no dummy. Sean Payton would have taken this job unless he saw something. I think he gets every ounce out of Russell, and this is the first year of again a masterful offensive coach. He obviously couldn't do. The reason I have him at the record I do is and you saw him in New Orleans. He can't Belichick his way to victory, right? Like he could do it with Drew Brees, who I didn't think was a top quarterback. But he was not able to do it with Jameis Winston and the cast of characters they had there in New Orleans before he left town. So I think a very good defense. I think with Peyton being like, I mean, you go from Hackett to Peyton, which is like learning, having a math teacher to go into, professor and calculus, right? I think he's going to be able to minimize what they do on offense and go to Russell's strengths. And I think they're going to, again, I don't think he's ever going to be the Russell Wilson of old, because his game was predicated on running. But I do think that he can make the short throws, do what he needs to do, make the right reads in the system. I think he's going to work with it to make the system a lot easier for Russell. And I think they're going to rely on their running game and their defense enough to get to this, to the level. And I think that I have every team in the AFC splitting games with each other. I think they'll go 1-1. And I think that it's, the teams, are going to be black and blue. And I think it's for reasons like this. Like, I think the Broncos have a very good defense. And I think if you put a good coach in there that makes Russell Wilson a competent quarterback, we were talking last year when we looked at this and people were like, this is the toughest division in football. Well, the Raiders imploded, the Chargers really never got untracked, and the Broncos imploded, right? I don't see that happening with Sean Payton. So that's why I have him what I do. And again, it's not that Russell is going to be, 5,000 yards and 40 touchdowns. It's he's not going to make the mistakes. The defense keeps the leads, and this time they win 7-6 instead of 6-2.
Sorry, I had a coffee clean up there when you said I don't think Russell's not going to make the mistakes. I spit my coffee out. Listen,
I think they'll have the thing in the helmet, like you're like, do not throw to the team, the other team, Russell.
if you're wearing a white jersey and our guys are wearing an orange jersey, don't throw to the white jersey. Listen, I think Peyton came over and eventually he's going to use the same excuse he used with Winston. Oh, Russell needs LASIK.
And maybe he'll be like, hey, Russell, have you gone to the eye doctor lately?
Russell Solly needs cataract surgery, but listen, I just don't see it. Look, they're playing. They got to play the Chargers. They got to play the Chiefs. They got to play the Raiders. Maybe they beat the Raiders once. They don't beat the Chargers. They don't beat the Chiefs. So that in itself is 5 losses already, bro. The rest of the teams they're playing this year, tough, very tough. I just don't see that. If they get past, like I said, man, 5 to 7 wins, they don't make the playoffs. I don't see them doing great. I just don't. I don't. I think Peyton comes, but Peyton's coming to make changes. I think they brought in a high-named coach to be able to tell Russell, "Hey, you know what? You're on the bench, buddy."
Yeah, and maybe he can't fix them. So, but that will all. And one of the things that's I think it's funny as we do these records is there's always turmoil. And I don't know if it's like if you asked us last year, I don't think a lot of us would say the Rams were going to regress as much as they did. Right? They went from Super Bowl to half a bowl. I don't know what else to say. Like they were really bad. So every I don't think we don't really show a team kind of cratering. That seems to happen every year, right? And I don't know that the Rams was. I wouldn't say the Rams was injury. Right, Stafford was healthy most of the year. Kupp was healthy for most of the year. Like they had the same team, but it just got old. The balls weren't bouncing their way. Like I don't know how to explain their team last year. So I don't know that we in our predictions. I think we go like how last year was, and I'm trying to do again. I don't think last year is indicative of what they're going to do this year. There's going to be some mix-ups in the schedule, and I could see that as again a great coach making a difference. So I could also be completely wrong, and they win no games.
We'll see. I'm going to stick with the 5 and 12. I'm going to stick with what Russell. I don't see last year as a fluke. I think he's just downgraded, man. He's going downwards. Look, man. Peyton told Drew Brees when it was time to hang it up. I think he can do the same with Russell. Bye-bye, Russell.
Sweet Pickles retirement bus is calling your name, buddy.
You see, what'll happen is they'll go half the season with Russell, and then finally it'll be like, all right, we need Danucci or this other Stidham kid, and then that kid will win maybe 5 games. So, 5 and 12.
5 and 12. So Striker, hopefully you're having a good ride back. And your picks are all stupid. Thank you. So, anything else for this week?
Your clickbait quote can be Russell gets LASIK as per Sean Payton.
Yep. Ripper says Russell's getting LASIK. All right, everybody. Thank you very much for attending. You guys have a great night.